Let's do a couple exercises off of writing while loops worksheet number 2. Okay, you're supposed to assume that sum has been declared as an integer and initialized to 0. Okay, I see that's already been done there. And you're also supposed to declare and initialize any other variables that you use. Well, num was already given to me as well. After you're done writing the loop right here in this area, then trace the code to check your work. So in number 1, you're supposed to write a while loop that adds up the numbers 1 plus 2 plus 3. Let's see what that adds up to. And that includes the numbers 1 and 3, the endpoints. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. So the answer here should end up being 6. Whatever sum is, it starts at 0. So sum starts at 0 and ends up going to 6. Okay, well let's write the code to see if we can achieve that goal. Well, to write a while loop, you start with the word while, add a big fat control expression that becomes either true or false, and you need end while at the bottom of your loop. What you do inside the code is called the body of the loop, and it should be indented for good style. If you did the previous worksheets, tracing while loops, worksheets 1, 2, and maybe 3 or 4, tracing while loops, you should know that inside here, typically, you have a line of code that's like this: sum plus equals num. Because that line of code takes whatever num is and it adds into sum. So if you're starting num at 1 and you want to add up 1 plus 2 plus 3, you need to stop when num gets to the number 3. And you do need the equal symbol in there. Because in that way, num will stop when it gets to 3. Actually, it does go to 4, but it doesn't go through the body of the loop, so you can pretty much ignore that. Okay, so what else do we need? Well, each time this loop goes around and adds up num, and adds that into sum with this line of code, you need to add 1 to num. That's the important line of code that makes it go 1, 2, 3, adding 1 each time. This first line of code is what takes num and adds it into sum. And these two lines of code should be in this order and not flip-flopped. Let's trace it now and see if this is our correct answer. Well, to trace this code, you keep track of num and sum over here. Num is currently 1. Sum starts out at 0. Is num less than or equal to 3? Yes, it is. So what is this doing? It's taking num and it's adding it into sum. It's taking num and it's adding it into sum. What's this line of code doing? It's taking 1 and it's adding it into num. The end while loops us back up to the top of the loop. We check to make sure that num is less than or equal to 3. It is. So we go through the loop. We take num's current value and add it into sum. This 2 gets added into sum. We add 1 to num. We loop back up. We check to see if the control expression is true or false. 3 is less than or equal to 3. So we add num into sum. 3 gets added into 3. We add 1 to num. We loop back up to the top. We check the control expression. Is 4 less than or equal to 3? No, it's not. So we're finished. And we circle the 4 and we circle the 6. We did correctly add up 1 plus 2 plus 3. And that is what we were supposed to do, so that's the final answer. This code, ignore the X there. This code over here is the correct loop that does the job. In exercise 2, it's pretty much the same thing. Instead of 1 through 3, you're adding up 13, 14, 15, and 16. We've already started num at 13. We need our while loop. we need those two body lines, body statements. And we are going by ones, so I need a 1 here. And now I'll let you fill in the blank here. Look at this. Notice that instead of stopping at 3, in this problem we're stopping at 16. So fill in the control expression and trace the code. Good luck with that one. In this one, instead of going num plus equals 1, we will need num plus equals 5 because the problem is saying go by 5s and add up 15 plus 20 plus 25 plus 30 by 5s. So we'll need that line of code somewhere in our while loop. In number 4, we will need a line of code that goes something like num equals input box with some message in double quotes. And we'll need, that's a num, that's an n. And then we'll need sum plus equals num. We've seen this input box being used on a previous worksheet. Please look at that code and use it to help you finish the rest of this.